I messed up. I messed up bad, guys. I put 15W40 in a two-stroke Detroit. And every other one of you in the comment section let me know that I messed up. I did not know that there were that many two-stroke Detroit professionals watching the channel. But yes, it's definitely 40 weight, straight 40 weight non-detergent. Except for the guys that said only 30 weight non-detergent. But the other third said they've been running 1540 and that's fine, it's just not as good as the 30 or the 40 weight. I'm so confused. Here's the situation. We bought the truck on a Saturday afternoon, bought it on a whim. The guy says he's coming in the afternoon, but he lived just 10 minutes away. So he said, if you come here first and take a look at it, then we made the deal. We bought the truck, grabbed a couple filters from my neighbor who I know had some on the shelf from before, and grabbed the only oil in my shop, which was T4 15W40 Shell Rotella. So we threw that in, but you should run a straight 30 or 40 weight, depending on maybe the mileage of the engine or the conditions that it's in. But will it hurt it? In the long term, probably. But I don't think this truck has a long term left in it. So let's go over the truck and figure out exactly what's wrong with it, and then figure out what we're gonna do with it on the channel. Here we go. All right, so this is a 1979 GMC Astro, which has been sitting for, we were told, 7 years it hasn't ran. And they parked it because the frame. They said that they got pulled over. This used to have, it was on a farm and must have been on a road because they said they got pulled over by MTO and they got their plates pulled because the frame is completely toast. It's a triple frame, meaning that you got a C and a C and another C. And what happens in our conditions with our humidity and our salt, when this originally started, it was probably a ½ inch thinner, but the rust just pushes everything out. So where you have a bolt holding it together, it's nice and tight, and then it opens up, and then it'll start coming back down again to the next bolt. This frame is absolutely toast. There is no way that this truck would ever make it back on the road again. And we knew that going in. We thought, you know what? If we can get this thing fired up and the engine and the transmission is okay, we'd love to take it to a local county fair in the fall. Prepped and ready for a truck pull, weld a hitch on the back, and see how far she makes it down the line before something happens. Then we either part it out or we do some massive work to it. There was a lot of plow trucks that were going in the area for about 3-4 grand. We get a completely new running gear. We could take the cab and the engine and transmission, put it on that frame, and then we could legitimately have a truck that we could put on the road. But this thing, there's no way that it would make it on the road. We've got Widowmaker tires. Now these are called Widowmakers because to get a tire onto a rim, you have to have a recess in the rim. So when you can put the tire in the recess to flip the other side over the lip. Now if you look at these, they're called Widowmakers because they don't have that. They're straight all the way along. And then on the other side of this, which you can't see, I'll show you on the forklift. So I have the same Widowmaker tires and rims on my 30-second forklift. We call it that because it runs for 30 seconds, then I have to do something to keep it running. But good news. She's going to the scrapyard, and I just made a stellar deal on a abandoned forklift project, which will be on the DGHD channel. Stick around for that, but this is what I'm talking about, a split rim. So what happens is the tire slides on the rim, and then you take this outer rim, this outer ring, and put it behind this lip, and then you put this inside ring in there, and that jams on a little lip on the front of this. Now, these are super dangerous because when you're airing them up, this ring can come out and it will fly through a brick wall. The tire guy that I learned from at my old shop, he actually had one blow, ripped the airline off his truck, and it flew about 500-600 feet into a field. He only saw it when it hit the dust. Scary, scary stuff. A guy in town had one blow, and he was never the same again. He survived, but he was never the same again. Can barely put a sentence together. As far as I know in Ontario, every tire shop has the right to refuse to put those together. you as a customer can't say fix these tires. They don't make the tires anymore, so it's not safe using the tires anymore because they're all weather cracked and worn and tired. And the split rim is just ancient technology that nobody uses anymore and is completely unsafe. So we would have to get 2 new axles and 8 new tires to be able to do a pull at a fair. Now, not a big deal because V&R gets enough vehicles coming into the scrap between now and the fall. I'm sure we would come across something that would have it, and that was our idea. All right, so from the little that we could tell when we ran it, we had a massive air leak. So, and that was typical, it's been sitting a while. So we'd have to figure out what that is, if that was a valve or whatnot, that would cost something to fix. We also had no power steering, so there was something going on with either the pump or the steering box. And the starter was acting up, or was it? The rattle doesn't sound so good, but at least it's running. All right, so here in the cab, she's a little rough. I know that the detailing videos go over extremely well online, but it's not really my cup of tea. The only thing I could do to this is pressure wash the inside of it out while wearing a full face mask so I don't get any dead mice and crap in my face. This being a grain farm truck, it probably didn't get cleaned very well in between when it got used those couple weeks of the season. So the leftover grain invites mice into it, and not that they did any damage to the wiring that I could tell. Most of the gauges and stuff was still working, but it stinks in here, boy. If we were to put this truck on the road, we would have to do a complete gut and basically replace every piece. Like there's mold on the ceiling and it's just too much. Windshield's cracked, we could clearly see that. They're not very cheap apparently, 1,700 bucks for a windshield. We knew buying this thing that there was no chance that this thing was ever gonna see the road again. If you see me driving with Jason and his Peterbilt, I think it's got a 2-stroke Detroit in it. I think after he bought the truck, he had to sink about 40 grand into to get it safetied enough to get it on the road. We're not in a position to do that. We would have loved to do a pull at the fair, and if all the stars align, we'd love to do a pull at the Notre Dame races in Quebec. But we feel that that's not going to be around for much longer, so we really want to experience that. But that's huge money. That's like us taking the Audi when we took it to adventure drives and challenging Pikes Peak. It just doesn't make any sense. We're shooting 50 leagues up. But the worst thing about this truck, we found out after we bought it. All right, there was lots of comments about me using the wrong oil, but there was not very many comments about all the steel that was stuck to the drain plug on this oil pan. I made a joke about, oh, it's just a nut from a squirrel, but honestly, any nuts that grow on trees aren't magnetic. So we got some issues in that engine. I also said in the video that 2 starters doing the exact same thing is not a coincidence. There's something else going on. So what was actually happening was it would spin really fast for about 2-3 seconds, and then it would stop. And then you wait a little bit, and then you fire it up again, and it would do exactly the same thing. And it would just stop. So here's my thinking. If there's like fibers or tiny little hairs on a magnet, that's normal wear and tear. When there are pieces on there, we got some major issues. What I'm thinking is it actually spun a rod bearing. They didn't park it because of the frame, they parked it because of the rod bearing. And as we're spinning it over, it's binding on 1 or 2 pistons if they share the journal, I forget, and then it would just get stuck. Keep in mind that the guys that we bought it off of did not ever hear it run. This is the story that they got from the previous owner. So we're not holding anybody accountable, and we know what we were getting into when we bought it by looking at it. But when I pulled that drain plug out, I knew we had some more issues. So what we're gonna do is drop the oil and remove the oil pan, and then see if there's stuff at the bottom of the pan, and then maybe pull a couple rod caps, see what we get into. If we need to turn the crank, what would you do with this truck? Here we go. Grab a pry bar. Well, that doesn't look encouraging. I can tell you right now, that is not good. I can pull a rod bearing, but I can tell you exactly what that is. That's not good. And I kind of knew that when we pulled the drain plug the first time. Let's pull the rod cap and then we'll go from there. Hey, what are you doing? Hey. Coming to work? Oh, you're a good puppy. Yeah, you're a good puppy. My cat doesn't like me like that. That's gonna be a problem. I can't pet you. Bye, puppy. That's Memphis, our new addition to the family. We're gonna go for a male dog because I'm slightly outnumbered with all the females, but we really like the name Memphis. No offense to Nicolas Cage. You hear that? I don't even have to go any farther. It's so. That's not what it's supposed to look like. It's really hard to see, but this connecting rod bearing is already spun, and I can feel it with my screwdriver that she's scored like crazy. That crank needs a polish. She's not going anywhere. Oh, what do we do now?
Did we do that?
No, we didn't do that. My face isn't too dirty. Okay guys, that's not the intent that we had for this truck. Unfortunately, you win some, you lose some. I'd like to say that just getting it running is enough to keep it on the road or keep it alive, but I think that one is pretty well not worth it. All right, so if you've got an old truck that, you know, you're just about ready to let go, you're retiring, or you bought as a toy and didn't find enough use for it, hit us up at thebossinquiries@gmail.com. We'd like to replace that one with a truck, something cool that we can build and modify to the standards of DeBoss Garage. It doesn't have to be a two-stroke Detroit. The Silver 92 was super cool, but we'd be happy to swap a C15 into something, do a massive cat swap, and hit up Notre Dame pulls, build a massive pulling truck, or build a nice ramp truck or a nice trailer for this for when we haul stuff back and forth to VNR. Something local and not extreme, but safe enough for the road. Maybe we can make that happen. For now, I think Optimus Brian is dead. We're gonna park it out back for a couple weeks. If somebody wants to buy it as a whole, hit us up. If not, it'll head to VNR where you can get parts off of it. We're not interested in selling parts, unfortunately. Every single time somebody says they want something, I find out a shipping quote, this and that, take the time to do that, and I've never actually shipped a single part. So you can go to the yard at VNR, check out whatever else they have in the yard while you're stripping parts off of this thing. So other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you're not filthy, you're probably not working on a two-stroke Detroit, and you'll never be rich. You win some, you lose some. So even if we did a pull on it, it would have been so low on horsepower, we would have got laughed out of the show, which is better we find it now.